What's going on, Imperials? At the core of the Pokemon games, you have the type system that we've all had to learn or flounder through basic gameplay. Some types are extremely common, and some seem almost exclusive to the end of the games, but each type has its own unique strengths and weaknesses to counterbalance each other. Everyone has the types that they like, and then there are the leftover ones. So I thought I'd share how I rank each of the Pokemon types from worst to best, and tell a little about how I feel about each one. So, here's my rankings for all the types of Pokemon. Number 18. Fighting type. I don't know what it is about the fighting type, but I've never been that sold on it as a concept. Pretty much every other type is some kind of elemental force of nature, and then you just have martial arts? Honestly, the fighting type could just be considered normal types with slightly increased combat prowess. And in my opinion, most fighting types are strangely designed, with the majority of them looking like deformed humans. While fighting types are certainly powerful, it just always seems like there's another equally good way to tackle those same opponents with other types. I will say that there are some pretty good dual fighting types, but when you can only be saved by latching on to another better type, you might not be that good. The fighting type might be my least favorite, but it's not all bad. My favorite fighting type move used to be Brick Break. Accurate, good power, and breaks through barriers. But recently, I've become a big fan of Mach Punch. I just love the one quick jab of priority that can turn the tide of battle. My favorite fighting type Pokemon is Chestnut. I loved using him through my Kalos journey, and he finally made me appreciate what a physical powerhouse can really do. My favorite pure fighting type is Primeape. Number 17. Dark type. Dark type was introduced alongside Steel type and Gold and Silver, and since then, it's had some trouble finding its footing. Dark is just another type that doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. There's seemingly a larger number of strange and undefined Dark type Pokemon than most other types, without a cohesive universal theme to tie them all together. I love the early Dark type designs, but then they just kept getting weirder, and when they haven't really made anything better, with a few exceptions, since the beginning, I'm going to take issue with that. While the overall type might stumble a bit, it is usually nice to be able to have some Dark type coverage moves, with lots of Pokemon getting access to things like Bite and Crunch, when they might not get anything else besides their own type. My favorite Dark type move is Dark Pulse. With 80 power and 100% accuracy, it's made even better by having a chance to flinch the opponent. My favorite Dark type is without a doubt Tyranitar. This beast is a king in terms of design and raw power, plus it can be an incredibly diverse battler. My favorite pure Dark type is Umbreon. Number 16. Fairy type. Fairy was a much needed introduction in Generation 6. The fairies showed up just in time to put a stop to the dragon's reign of terror, and to give new life to some of the more neglected types. So why are fairies so low on the list? It's nothing against the fairy type, it just hasn't been around long enough to really impress me. There aren't that many fairies out there, and a good portion of them were drafted from previous generations. Many of them are not the coolest or most useful candidates that they could have chosen. And some of the new fairy type designs already appear derivative in nature after just 2 generations. I am glad that they added the fairy type, and I do expect at some point that it'll wow me, but until then I can't put it above any other types. There aren't many fairy type moves, and even fewer that are good, but my favorite one at the moment is Moonblast. It's incredibly powerful, and also has a chance to lower special attack. My favorite fairy type is a brand new one, and one of the faces of the new regional variant feature, Alolan Ninetales. My favorite pure fairy type was the poster child for its inception, Sylveon. Number 15. Bug type. Bug types appear early in every Pokemon game, being caught by most trainers and used for a while, but then often discarded into their PCs after more Pokemon become readily available. This, and their generally low base stat averages, give bug types a bad rap, but there are plenty of really fantastic bug types as well. I think people forget sometimes about the more intimidating bugs out there, and the fact that they can be some top-tier threats. That being said, the bug type is not without its issues. It has weaknesses to many common types, and as previously discussed, they don't usually have the defensive bulk to survive many hits. My favorite bug type move is X-Scissor, which has good power and is also a good coverage move that can be learned by lots of different Pokemon. I do like the Gen 4 animation the best though. My all-time favorite bug type is without a doubt Heracross. He's an insanely strong battler and his design is perfectly striking and subtle. My favorite pure bug type is Pinsir for similar reasoning. Number 14. Rock type. Rock type Pokemon are often slow and clunky, but make up for it in the defense department. The rock type has an interesting niche where a good portion of their numbers are made up of ancient extinct Pokemon, resurrected from fossils. Apart from that, many rock types are rather bland. I mean honestly, there are only so many ways you can anthropomorphize a boulder. Rock is usually pretty solid in dual typings, but doesn't shine too much on its own. Despite the high defenses, it has a large number of weaknesses that are easily exploitable. The biggest problem with Rock is that it seems too similar to other types. On the one side, it shares many advantages and disadvantages with the ground type, and closer to the other end, it becomes more and more like the steel type. As a type, Rock is fine, but I just seem to prefer the other types that do its job better. Most Rock type moves are lacking in accuracy. That's why my favorite is Smackdown, because even though it's only 50 base power, it's 100% accurate, and the added bonus of knocking down flying types and levitators is always useful. My favorite Rock type is Tyrantrum, who instantly became one of the best Rock types ever once Generation 6 came out. My favorite pure Rock type is Lycanroc, midday form. Number 13. Ghost type. Ghost type has been there since the very beginning to cause players unease. Ghost types are mysterious and creepy, appearing in many cemetery locations in the Pokemon world. But it's one of the least populated types, with very few appearing in each new generation. Even though Ghost was introduced as a potential counter to the ever-powerful Psychic type in the first generation, a glitch actually made it to where the Psychic type resisted Ghost. And the fact that they were all half Poison type at the time didn't make it any easier. It took a couple of more generations, but the Ghost type finally found its footing. Ghost is the only type with 2 immunities, that being Normal and Fighting. My favorite Ghost type move is Shadow Ball. It can be learned by so many different Pokemon for coverage and is very reliable. My favorite Ghost type is the ancient behemoth, Golurk. And my favorite pure Ghost type is Dusclops. Well, there you have it, my first entries on my Pokemon type ranking list. 1/3 down, 2/3 to go. What did you think of this list? What are your favorite types? What are your least favorites? What are your favorite Pokemon from each of these types? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time.